this is the use case I'm going to use to explain how we're doing it. We have a simple setup here. It's not, of course, the whole architecture. We have, and the aim is that you want to connect, let's say, 4 functions in your environment. You have your requirements management, and let's say it's done in Doors next. In your setup, verification and validation is done in Polarion. You have your test cases, test results, etc. You're doing all your planning in Jira. So things like defects and activities like tasks, what change requests are occurring, that's handled in Jira. And then your system of record when it comes to change notices, that also happen to be in Polarion. So these are your final fun functions, and then they're mapping in your situation, in this particular case, for these different 3 applications. Now, I'll preempt the questions about, okay, why do you have requirements in Doors? Why don't you put them also in Polarion, for example, and then you don't have this traceability problem? Sure, but I think in this case, if we want to focus on the case of federation, there are valid scenarios where this might happen. So I'm not promoting here a particular architecture of where you put your requirements. I'm just giving a case on what could have happened for whatever reason. Could be historical reason or anything. So I hope you can sort of relax on this kind of
modeling tools which are not Polarion. I mean, you need federated, that's exactly. For sure.
Yeah. With that, and I want to not end up in the discussion of where you put things. I'm just trying to find an example where we have a federation. Again, you know, why is change notice in Polarion? We can discuss that, or let's accept it as a setup for now. In this setup, I think it's worth highlighting sort of variations because, and this was quite interesting to pick these 3 tools because Doors has native OSLC support, but it's a bit limited when it comes to what kind of traceability links you can connect with it. They're sort of predefined with some support. I might be very wrong here, but from my understanding, it's not like you can configure what kind of links and in the direction of these links you can have in Doors next. If I compare it to Polarion, where they also have OSLC support, but there you can define, you know, what kind of work items you can have here, what kind of relationship they can have to items outside, etc. It's pretty much more configurable in that sense. And then Jira, which has no native OSLC support at the least. So it's really, if you want to do it with OSLC, you would need some plugin or some extension that supports them. So there's a richness that you will have to face in your federated environment. Okay, so, and then the use case is about creating traceability links across these environments. And if I take just a simple case, imagine that you have someone triggered a change request, and that's done in Jira. And based on that change request, you create a new requirement, which is in Doors, and then you're creating test cases to validate this requirement. So this is going to happen in Polarion. So there will be a need somewhere in your process to create a traceability link from your test case down to requirements in Doors. And then you go ahead, and I'm just giving a quick one here, and then the focus is to focus on the traceability aspects. Then you go ahead and design, develop, and test this change you're introducing. And once you complete, you're creating this change notice, which is like a record of what has been done in this change. And that, for whatever reasons in this environment, that's being saved in Polarion. And you create this change notice, and then you want to create a link from that change notice down back to the change request and other items for that change notice. I hope it's simple. It's a pretty simple case, but just to illustrate how it's done. Okay, so I wanted to show a demo of how this could be done. And I also, well, I like working backwards. I'm going to start by showing you how these links would look like across a federated environment, and then how you go about creating them. And I hope this works. Otherwise, I have a backup of demos here. So this is our environment. This is Jira, where we have our change requests, and I have Doors next, where we have our simple requirements for an air data computer. And then I have a bunch of test cases here in Polarion and the change notices here. And I've already done this setup for a particular case. So you see for this change request, for this test case, I've already connected it to a verifies. This is a link to something that happens in Doors. And you see that I just need to hover over it. And then without knowing where the data is, of course, I'm going to see this information coming from Doors next. If I click on it, of course, I end up in Doors next to view more details about this information. I also have my connection to the change request. So now I'm actually getting a delegated UI of information, seamlessly getting information from Jira into a pop-up here that I don't need. I'm not, as a user, I'm not even aware of where this information is coming from. I'm just like logging in, getting that information, putting it in a knife. This is standard OSLC sort of capabilities that Polarion supports, and IBM also, Doors, I should say, supports it here. And then, as I said, Jira doesn't, but that's what we will get into. This is sort of a plugin that we've introduced to be able to do it. Similarly, if you're looking at the change request, change notice, it's going to be also connected to Jira. And you see it's the same sort of interface that's being reused in multiple places. So these are the two sort of traceability scenarios that I've sort of highlighted here that you want to see. And these are already existing. If you want to create such a link, what you do is typically, let's say you have a change request, which is this one. You want to introduce a new requirement based on this MAC number precision. This is the description of the change. You will create your requirement here, and then you will have your test case. And then you say, okay, I want to connect it to my requirement. And this is standard Polarion functionality. I want to be able to verify this requirement. Typically, you will connect this to a requirement in Polarion if you're working within the one tool, or you can choose to connect to something external. And you click on that, and then you choose your sort of friend application, Doors NG, and you say, I want to connect to requirements. And then you get a standard Doors Next delegated UI to select your requirement, and you connect to it. And once you have
just as a clarification,
yes.
we keep saying that the non-IBM tools, they support OSLC.
Yeah,
they support it because you develop the connectors, right?
No, so OSLC Doors and Polarion, that's what I tried to say in the first one. That's actually native. Doors and Polarion have native OSLC support. So what I've shown you here is only configuring Doors and Polarion to do that. For Jira, you'd need something.
Okay, so Polarion comes with the native OSLC support. I thought that you have to use some connect.
No, but it doesn't have configuration management support. So this actually, I think I should clarify also. What we're talking about now is without configuration management, which I think is a separate topic. Someone will spend maybe an hour or 5 on it. But yeah, Polarion comes with native OSLC support, but not with configuration management awareness. Yeah. And then similarly, if you have your change notice in the same way, you can do it. You want to connect. Here you just see that depending on what you choose, you're going to be able to have, because Polarion is configured that way, you enable or disable the OSLC connection because it's not enabled. So if you happen to choose related to, this becomes enabled because there is a connection to the Jira connector. And then you can open the delegate UI for Jira, and then you can do your search here, whatever the change request you're connecting to, and then you will find it here, and then you make that connection. And then you have the pop-up here that I'm showing. So it's pretty simple and seamless for the user, hopefully, with this kind of OSLC delegated UI to make those connections.
And the links are presented. Each tool presents the ends, so they are.
Yes. So the actual maybe we can go. I'm not sure if how many people are aware of how that works, but the only thing, for example, Polarion needs to save with this connection to Jira is only the actual link, the URL that you can see at the bottom. I can't point with my finger. You will see it at the bottom here when I hover over it, right? That link is the only thing Polarion saves. So all that data Polarion is not aware of and doesn't care about. As opposed to another alternative where you can, Polarion has, for example, a synchronization plugin where you can synchronize all the data from Jira into Polarion, and then you can do internal linking within Polarion. But that means you need to do all the mapping and all the transformation of Jira data, all these things into Polarion items, and then you can do that kind of linking.
And then when you are in Jira, you have no idea what's your traceability relationships.
Exact, and then also how you did that transformation is nothing Jira. It's someone that Polarion's admin has done. So you're sort of duplicating this information, doing a lot of guesswork on how that transformation looks like, etc. With this approach, the only thing you need to know about, Polarion needs to configure and know about, is just how do I connect to Jira, and you leave the rest of the information to be delegated from Jira, from the source.